Well, what's the crack, everybody? How are you getting on? What are you doing? Huh? How's your Friday going? Or if you're a Patreon, you would have gotten this last night. Huh? Snaky little way of telling you about the Patreons there. It is episode 186 for Friday the 21st of May 2021. Pissing down the rain all week. And sure, look, what a nice way to wrap it up. Nearly the weekend. Nearly actually a normal weekend. We're nearly at normal weekends, everybody. We can go on the fucking lash. Or some people leave these weeks before they listen to it. Well, you know the date it came out. What's the fucking crack? Ramble Pods will be moving over in the next 3 weeks. I will be moving over fully to Patreons. So if you enjoy the Ramble Pods, go become a Patreon. It's as simple as that. It's very easy to do. Very, very easy to do. We have a bunch of people over there now enjoying all the ad-free content as well as the videos, as well as live Ramble Pods. We call them live Royal Rambles, where we pick a subject, we don't record it, because everybody wants to get a bit loosey-goosey. We're going to do another one of those in a fortnight's time, because I'm having an electrician coming now to fit the studio and a couple of other bits that I'm getting to do, and I'm just up to my fucking eyes. But regardless, it will still happen. We're still going to have a live Ramble Pod, and I will take suggestions off. There's a couple of stalwarts that normally throw in really tasty suggestions that we keep the subject. Now, the subject matter starts off as one thing, but inevitably we end up just having a right out fucking piss take and fucking literally drinking on the lash with each other. And it's a fucking enjoyable time all around. Also, there's, of course, the merch shop. You know the crack. It's there in the show notes. Have a fucking gander at it. If you want to buy some stuff, go for it. We're going to have some new Tom and Jerry artwork coming fairly soon. Oh my god, it looks cool. I can't wait. We're giving... It's Rob Steers. Rob was actually on the podcast a couple of years back. He's a fantastic artist, and he is doing our new artwork. And we gave him carte blanche. We kind of gave him a rough idea of what we needed, but after that it was like, go for it, man. Just make it. He just did it. We'd mentioned it to him months ago, and he went, yeah, come, give me some ideas. And then we didn't. And then he realised, the boys are actually taking this seriously by doing a couple of series back to back, and we, and he went and drew, and just, what do you think of that? Which is it's almost a Mammy style thing to do. It's just to tell us what we're fucking going to get. And we were delighted. It's class. It's absolutely class. So that'll be up in the merch shop soon enough as well, if you want to get some of that on. I don't know what it'll fit on. It'll probably look good in a cup, I'd say. A lot of people like the old mugs. So yeah, that's a handy segue to tell you about the Tom and Jerry show. So you know the crack at this stage. You know the Tom and Jerry show. It's Jerry with a G. Go find it. There's a rake of episodes there. We are ploughing nicely through with our bonus episodes. We had Senator Lynn Boylan this week with a great story about trying to explain to the IFA down in Kerry why they should allow the introduction of I think it was the golden tail, was it a white tail or golden tail eagle? And then Jackie Healy-Rae came storming in and accused her of bringing eagles in that were going to steal toddlers. Yeah, that's a synopsis. Go have a listen. Brezzy was on the previous week, and we had Deirdre came with all cracking stories. We've got a couple more people already done and in the bag, and I think we're recording another 2 tomorrow. So happy fucking days. That's the Tom and Jerry show. You know the crack, lads. Now you know what to follow me on. This is all the housework shit that you gotta get done at the beginning of the show. I'm sure a lot of people skip through this, but it's just nice. It's nice to say it. If you don't follow me on any of the usual platforms, go ahead. Tom O'Mahony Comedy will find it. And I'm fairly good on it. I'm not, the last 2 weeks now, I was a bit slow on it, but I'll get back to pace again. I'll get out a bit more stuff, but I'll keep you up to date with everything regarding gigs. Would you believe it? Gigs are coming back. I know. I'm up tonight to hear the tea is as strong, lads. Honest to God, you could stand a spoon up inside in the middle of it. It's fucking beautiful. Tea like tarmac, that's what you want to be drinking. Now, that's me. Shut my face. Moving on to today's guest, a very, very funny comic. We have crossed paths on several occasions, normally on the stairs of the International waiting to go on, or various other places, but one person, she always cracks me up, and it still continues to crack me up with just her online posting. Just very, very, takes you one way and then another way. It's just a very, very, very funny woman. So there's a couple of absolute holy fuck moments throughout this episode, which I was ecstatic about. So sit back, turn off whatever else is in your life right now and enjoy the brilliant Aideen McQueen.
And I was hosting this gig for Americans, and they were like, oh my God, it was the openest Mikey thing. And there was 20 comics on, and I was hosting. I was like, this is like elder abuse, like, because they were all really young. And I just kept changing my green screen, but it was just photos that I had on my phone. So I'd like have a receipt. Then I was like a photo of a jumper that I might buy but didn't, you know. And they were like, that was awesome. You were so amazing. And I'm like, oh no, just like, you know, the really tense Americans that have learned off their script, and they want to do their bit, and they're very tense about it.
I mean, I was going to start the podcast officially, but this is exactly what I love. Like, that's perfect. Like, so you just started lashing up whatever was on your phone. Did anything pop up? You're like, no.
A few things now. I was like, oops, better not show that. That's a personal use. But yeah, so it was a lot of there was a lot of weird stuff. Like, I did a picture of the actor Ryan O'Neill. I was like, he's very handsome. He can be in my picture now. And so like stuff. Yeah, but it was a lot of it. Really kind of showed my personality, because a lot of it was like stuff that I wanted to buy but didn't. Yeah. Like, I love shopping, but I'll just take a photo of something, and they're like, okay, take a photo of it, and then if you still like it, go back to the shop. Done stores. So I'm controlling my shopping addiction. I don't know if you have. Well, actually, that's not true, because a lot of lads are addicted now to Amazon and getting shit on Amazon. My partner is like addicted to finding the Amazon's best rated. So like, we need a new kettle. I'm going to get Amazon's best rated kettle, and he researches it for about an hour and he reads the reviews. And I'm like, who are these mentalers that are putting up reviews for kettles? Like, it's good, but I mean, have you ever reviewed anything?
Only once in recent time. It was a petrol station, would you believe?
Yeah.
And they were unbelievably nice. And about a day or two later, Google had been watching me, and every so often you go, do you want to rate, you know?
Yeah, it's so creepy, isn't it?
So I typically turn off the location of my phone, but it was on for maps, and I was in this petrol station. I'd been there before, and I remember they were nice, and I went, and a day or two later, it asked me, did I want a review? And they had been impeccably nice. So I went ahead, rated, and went, you will not find more helpful, nice people. Turns out loads of people had rated it really nicely.
Yeah. We're being watched. It's Big Brother. You have to be. I've noticed Uber drivers in taxis, they're so nice. Like, and they used to be bollockses, and now they're all smiling, and they have water in the back and tissues. I'm like, what am I going to use a tissue?
The second you said it.
Yeah. But a lot of them have tissues, and then I figured out it's for like girls on a night out. And they're like, I love him so much, but he doesn't love me. And then, you know, Mohammed in the front is, don't cry, please. Here is a tissue at the back for your secular needs. And it's so everybody's really on guard. They used to have this thing called Rate My Teacher. Do you remember that?
Yes, I did. And I thought now I can see the thinking behind it, but at the same time, there's something that's not right. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you have a vendetta against the teacher and you're finished. They got rid of it. I think they still have Rate My Lecturer, which is basically people saying how hot their lecturers are. But I did get one Rate My Teacher review, and it was like, I think it kind of encapsulated my personality, because it was like, Múinteoir Aideen, because I taught in the Gael school, Múinteoir Aideen is the best teacher ever. Once she set her hair on fire in class. And it's like, the first bit is great, and the second bit is going to throw parents into a turmoil of how is this teaching? And it was true. I did set my hair on fire once. Please explain, in a Gael school, what were you fucking teaching? I know. So I was teaching. So I'll explain. When my first year of teaching, I got a permanent job, right? The year the Celtic Tiger died, 2007, right? So I thought I was deadly. I suddenly had, everybody else was broke, and I suddenly had a wage, and I had my own place, and I was going out every night. Right? Yeah, standard. And then, so like, I used to have like a come in, and I'd be grand, but I used to have toothpaste and hairspray and dry shampoo and a change of clothes in a drawer, like, and I go in early and I go under the desk, change my clothes, brush my teeth, and put the dry shampoo and a bit of hairspray, and like, oh yeah, a bit of perfume. I'm great. Nobody would notice. But I was put way too much perfume in, and I was feeling really hungover. So I was like, okay, all right, I need a few minutes to settle myself. Right, we'll do it now. Silent meditation now with the candle. That's
Take
grand.
a colour, children. Take a colour.
But you can't really do the take colour anymore. You have to dress it up in kind of wokeness. So I was like, we'll light the candle and we'll do a silent meditation. All the kids now can watch the candle. And I sat down with them in a circle. It was circle, they call it. Everything has a name. It was just sitting on the ground.
Circle.
Circle. You're doing the right thing. And I put the candle up in the chair and I bent over towards the candle and all the hair started shh. And they were like, ah! And like kids at that age, they were like 7. So, they're so sweet, but they're really selfish as well. So none of them were concerned about me and my hair. They were like, teacher, you're scaring me. And then some of them were like, that's deadly. Like the reactions were different. And so I matted it out. And I just thought, okay, I've gotten away with that. They're very young. They won't remember. But years later, it came back to bite me in the form of this review,
Well, know it yourself. Any teacher you had in school, you could be in your 80s and you will remember the one fucked up thing that happened. I remember one poor bastard. He was a physics teacher and he was always wore really terrible combinations of suits, but they were very physics teachery gear. You know what I mean? It was you weren't expecting it to be an aficionado of fucking fashion.
Yeah, it wasn't like what's his name, Paul Galvin walking in. Like...
No, with the skinny jeans. Yeah, no, he and this one day he was to go on a soccer trip and it got cancelled. So he was wearing his standard, 1988, Ireland tracksuit shell.
Oh, yeah.
But then he rather than going full shell tracksuit and going back to the class and teaching, he thought, well, I have a spare jacket and a spare shirt and tie, but I don't have the trousers. So he wore the shell tracksuit trousers and the shirt and tie and jacket. No. You go, what is this? And the shoes. He tried to get there as far as he could by wearing the shoes, not the trainers that he brought. Yeah. And I'm needless to say, this will tell you that the pity I have for teachers, the psychos that we were. I was the chief psycho in the class. So I went, don't say a word. We've got double physics, not a word. Just stare at his crotch for the entire 2. Nothing. Don't say anything. Make any reference. Totally bent the poor man's brain completely. He was like, stop staring. I was like, staring at what, sir? And it's just... How are you supposed to teach that, Aideen?
It's so... I taught in a secondary school for a year. Back in the good old rich days of Celtic Tiger, when they didn't care if you had qualifications. They just will you teach honours Irish? Great. Okay, we'll land you in. It was 21. Like there was lads in the school that were 19 or people that leaving the second year in Kieran's College so they could get, onto the hurling, the senior hurling
standard.
Team.
Yeah, it's Kieran's, yeah.
Yeah. It was like, are you sure? I mean, your kid is waiting out in the car. Maybe you should, and no, we've got to get the hearty cup. And they were just like, they did not take me seriously at all. Like, it'd be like, miss, what? I shifted your sister, miss. That town Kilkenny accent where they barely move their face, right? They use a lot of energy, but they don't show it. So they have to save all the energy for the hurling. You know what I mean? Like, no.
Yeah, it's exactly it. It's like they've all been Botoxed too heavily around the Yeah.
We're dead from the shoulders down, and then you used to have the hurls. Like people wonder why Kilkenny's so good at hurling. And I know you're a tip man, but they used to have the hurls in the class, and they'd be hitting the hurls, and you couldn't separate them from the hurls. And even they used to go downtown with the hurls at lunchtime, and be soloing and everything. They were just, and it was just because I went to an all-girls school, and like the naughtiest thing, the boldest thing, like that happened that I did. Was I was bored and it was Christmas mass and the nuns had done the Christmas tree up, but they were quite tight, so they just put decorations on the front of the tree and the back of the tree looked like shit. There was one bauble. I turned the tree around as all the parents were coming into the mass, and oh my god, shocking! That was a big deal. So like that was like the point of it in the presentation with the girls, and I just couldn't get over the lads. Now I have to say, when I was in school and if a teacher gave out to you, like, you'd be like, that fucking bitch, I'm never going to fucking say hello to her again. I'm going to be fucking horrible. And you'd be like this for the rest of the year. This fucking bitch. She gave me French. I know my fucking verbs. I was out last night. I had a pregnancy scare. Like, you just really take it to heart. But lads, you could give out to them for a day. You could say anything to them, and they'd be, and the next day you see them in the corridor. How are you, miss? How are you keeping? Like your hair? Like, they didn't take it to heart at all. But they were so horrible to each other, and everyone had a name. Like, I remember there was one lad, and they used to call him Bend Your Knees. I was like, why do you call him Bend Your Knees? Bend Your Knees, Brennan's over there. Like, that's a long nickname. Like, that takes effort.
Wow.
He was really tall, and he couldn't really bend his knees. He couldn't bend his knees.
Oh, the ironic thing. Yes, yeah.
So even like the way lads sit with skinny jeans, you'd have to have the leg sticking out. And they had like horrible, everybody had horrible nicknames. But yeah, it was an eye opener. I was like, oh my god, I can't do this anymore. Like, and then I remember going out and to like out in Kilkenny, so it's a small town, and I was out in some kind of cool, kind of like, you know, there's always that one cool pub where like weed smokers go in the back.
Yeah.
Small town, and everybody's got like Guns N' Roses t-shirts. So I went to this place. I won't see any students there. I started dancing with this guy who's pretty cool, pretty good dancer, and he lifts me up and he starts spinning me around. I'm like, this is great. You know?
I feel like, baby, oh, don't put me in the corner, please.
Yeah. And my sister kind of gave me the signal, and she was going to go off, and you know, she wasn't going to cock block the situation. This looks familiar. And then he said, "Do you like that, miss?" He wasn't even leaving, sir. He was in transition year, right?
Oh, Jesus.
And I was like, no, I don't. He's like, it's all right. I'm dropping out next week. Don't worry about it. I'm dropping out next week. He didn't drop out. I was like, I have to get out of here. So I wouldn't recommend teaching boys in your hometown when you're 21. Like, you know, it's an education for me, not for them. I don't think they learned that much, to be honest.
Of all my teacher friends, that was the number one thing they all said: just don't teach in your own town, whatever you do, because something will go awry someplace. But what was the first Gael school then you taught in? Because you do a great thing like Julie J. And I love it because I don't speak Irish enough. Even though for some reason during Shock to the Gaeilge, all my computer, Google, all changed to Irish. And I thought, that's cute for Shock to the Gaeilge. Now it hasn't changed back, and I'm quite happy about that, to be honest with you. Do you know? But she drops in. She had a great phrase, and I remember speaking with you one time in the International. You used to drop in the odd Irish phrase, and it fitted in perfectly. We were talking about Sarah Beanie, myself, and do you know Sarah Beanie? She's the house guru. She's the British house guru, and she kind of speaks like this. She's like, if you're going to spend $500,000, you're like, okay, Sarah, I'll switch channel now. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
But she's loaded, and she's always giving the old poor mouth. And I remember Julie J called it, she's always with the bail booked. And I loved it. It was just, It's way better. It's way better than a poor mouth.
You can say stuff. Yeah. You can say some weird, like, you can throw it in and it's good. And a lot of the like the real dubs, you know, the Howies and all, like they always be like, sure, you know, I'm just going off to the shuppa, you know, and I'm just going to get a bit of schnapta. Oh, schnapta. Okay, so they use it as a code. I think the Gardaí would figure that out. Like the Royal Guards, sure, I remember that from what? That's some kind of drug.
Oh, she had Korschnackte. Yeah, there's so where was the penchant for Irish came from then? How did you go to a Gael school as well?
I did. I couldn't be more privileged when it comes to Irish. So my dad was an Irish secondary school teacher, and
Stad an Solas.
And he was teaching in Kieran's, and then they had only one female teacher who was the art teacher, and then they stopped doing Latin. And they needed to do French because they were like, we need to do French, we need to do language. So they got my mother to come and teach. And she was all modern and je parle français. I don't really speak Irish, you know. And this is going way too far back, but I'll say it anyway. So she didn't like my dad at all. She thought he was boring. He was a pioneer. He was a bit older than her. But she was 26, right? So in the 80s, that was like, you're on the shelf, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And I was in the staff room one day, and I just felt this presence, and it was your dad. And I was just typing away, and I didn't know what to do. And he asked me to go to a chieftain's concert with him. And in those days, Aideen, if somebody asked you out, you couldn't say no. And then I actually had a good time. And 6 weeks later, he said to me, this is serious, isn't it? And I said, yes. And sure, I knew then we'd get married. I'm like, what? the kind of, you know, the way I think maybe people oversimplify their stories.
Like
But,
that's a synopsis. That's the synopsis of a whole season of Glenroe, just there.
Yeah. And so then she gets pregnant, of course, and I don't know. They just said some prayers by the fireside. I don't know how it happened. And my dad didn't say anything to her, but as soon as they're born, he was like, "Do you quit, Aideen?" And she was like, "Come on, this will last about a week. Like, with your do you quit to a baby, you know?" And she was like, "I'm so tired. I didn't really say anything." He just kept talking Irish to you all the time. He wouldn't stop. I didn't know what he was saying to you at all. And then a year and 2 days later, Maeve was born, my sister, and then a year and 5 months later, Ethan was born. So he made this mini Gaeltacht in the middle of County Kilkenny, right? And so we could speak Irish as soon as we could speak English. And he, in fairness to him, he worked really hard on it. And like, you have to be dedicated. And there was one shopkeeper that spoke Irish, and we used to speak Irish to him. Then we went to the Gaelscoil. So like, and then I did a degree in Irish as well. So I went to a normal secondary school. Thank God. Like, I would think it would be a bit weird if I went to all Irish. But yeah, so it's in me all the time, and I hated it as a teenager. It was so
Did you?
Oh
yeah, because it's not cool. Yeah,
it's not cool. Oh my God, we're like, "Oh, we put up to a balloon, listen for," and I'm like, "Sha. Like, I'm so embarrassed. I just wouldn't talk to him, you know, because in Kilkenny at that time it was like speaking Latin in the street. You know, it was just weird.
Yeah,
people would be like amazed. But then I to be honest, I did it in college because it was an easy option. It would be like, you know, doing French in college, but you're French, you know, but you do it in Ireland. So I was like, "Oh, this will be fine. I did it." But then I started to really like it again in my 20s, and I started teaching in Gaelscoil, and I loved it. Like, it's a really good atmosphere, and you can do what you want in the Gaelscoil. They're not as strict as other schools, because as long as you're speaking Irish, they don't care, you know. So
I always thought that.
Yeah,
I thought it was like, you know, those schools in LA, like, where all the rock stars send their kids, you know, like Slash went to the same school probably as your man from the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Yeah.
And they were allowed to do whatever the fuck they want. And I always thought of Gaelscoils like that. Like,
yeah, they were, because the priest didn't visit that much, and the teachers, a lot of them were very young, and it's kind of like, it kind of has a fuddy-duddy image, Gaeilge, Irish, but a lot of if you studied Irish, you're more likely to study another language, maybe traveled a bit. So we had kind of like a lot of quite hippie-ish teachers, and yeah, it was really fun, you know. And there were new schools, so they kind of made up their rules as they went along, and made up all these traditions and translated pop songs and.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So they can be really fun, Gaelscoils. Yeah, they can be really good. I enjoy teaching them. Like, it's hard work, because especially when they come in the mean on Bioga, and I taught them Coolock in the Gaelscoil there. So they'd be like, "Muintir, I don't know what you're saying to me. What's alone?" Like, crying, you know. And it's exhausting, you know. Misha on Muintir. You know, you're starting from scratch.
Jesus.
Yeah, but now it's kind of become like the waiting list in the school I taught in is like, unreal, and parents have to do an interview, and they have to prove that they both have Irish. Oh my God. And like, so it's almost like parents will work really hard to try and get the kid into the Gaelscoil. They think it's kind of better. Now, some of it is a bit snobbery, because they think, you know,
it absolutely is snobbery. Like,
Asian kids can fit in the Gaelscoil, so we would send them to the Gaelscoil. I don't like the Irish myself, but I hate black people more so. And you know, so you get a few pain in the arse parents as well. But I was in the Gaelscoil in Ballymun and the Gaelscoil in Coolock, and they were really sound and nice, and they were just like ordinary, decent parents, working class, who wanted their kids to have a good education. And yeah, it was nice. Yeah, I liked it a lot. It
is funny how exclusivity builds around the thing just can actually form around it. Like, the primary school, we've moved back home to Tipperary in the last few months, because there was no need to be up in Dublin or whatever, but
Dublin doesn't do any necessary things anymore. Yeah, it's debunked.
It's so we were looking at the primary school, and it's become really, really popular, the one that I went to, because in fairness, the principal, she's young, and she's very, very, she brings in like artists and sculptors in to meet the kids, and you know, they get. But I went a couple of years ago. She wanted me to come as a past student and talk, because I can talk to people. I'm pretty sure that's about it. But she was.
What did she say to talk about? Talk about mullets.
Well, I had a much tidier image back then. I didn't have a mullet or a moustache, but It was basically they were handing out medals. It was a whole kind of the thing. Kids were going to sing a song and they were getting medals. And I think she wanted me to just kind of tie the whole thing together, go up, say hello, and bring up different people.
Yeah.
But they were pulling. I had to laugh then. At the very end, we'd go outside. They were raising the flag of. It was this green flag. It's a flag of kind of inclusivity.
Yeah, I know that green flag.
You know the one, right?
Yeah, they're making art out of washing up liquid bottles and stuff, and they have to do all this recycling, and there's like little recycling Nazis going around from class to class, like making sure.
But they had that one, but they had one of kind of community inclusivity, like, and this is rural South Tipperary, right? And now kids are coming from like 10, 15 miles away to come to the school, but up goes the flag anyway. And I said, what's it for? She goes, oh, well, it's for, diversity and community, and we are very accepting to. I went, have you looked around? This is like, the fucking Hitler Youth. Every child is blonde with blue eyes. She goes, yes, but what if somebody turns up that, is darker and brown? We have to, we are exclusive. We're ready for that person. Yeah. I was like, well, that kid, they were probably on holidays, so I'm guessing they might, But there is next to no, but because there was that, I don't think that was the level of why people were, but it was a funny how a school in the middle of nowhere suddenly became quite exclusive to get into. For one reason or another, you know what I mean? Like, I think it was, the principal is very good, but also I do think it's the fact that people are, like you were just saying, I wouldn't go all the way out to the sticks, but at the same time, there'll be no foreigners out there, you know what I mean? And you're like, Jesus Christ.
I don't mean to sound bad, but my child, IVF, 3 goes worth a fortune. Just saying. So it's like, you have a bit of that. The country schools, you're right, there was a 125 pupil school in Kilkenny and they wanted to close it. And then loads of parents started sending the kids because they're like, what? This is great. This is really exclusive. And they get to feel like they're giving their kids a country experience or something. But the parent power is huge. Maybe the school had good reviews. Maybe none of the teachers burnt their own hair. It could be one of those schools.
I don't know. I still would have wanted to see my teacher burn their fucking hair. I mean, who would, Jesus.
And they're going to talk about that for the rest of their lives.
Forever.
It was just a bad hangover gone wrong. But I said it to my mother, and she's like, "Oh, sure, that happened to me 3 times in the 80s." She had a perm. She said one day I was laughing in a restaurant, and I leaned back, and I got a candle, and it went, whoosh, and then a man threw a glass of white wine on me. That made it worse. She had a singed bit in her hair.
What was the hairspray? It was in a green can. It was
Elnet or something.
Yes, like probably stunted a lot of people's growth, I'd imagine, the sort of shit they were putting into them hairsprays. Yeah.
I think it was the same spray that you'd use on buildings, like, it was partly asbestos probably in it. Yeah.
I'd well imagine. Because you had, what gig did you, I thought you'd got, I did a one-man play and I did it in Kilkenny. Was that,
did you write the play or did you just do it?
Oh, no. Well, I rewrote it for an Irish audience. It's an American play.
Oh, very good.
And it's been in almost 40 odd countries now at this stage, and this was to be the Irish version, and we toured with it all right, but that wasn't what I was getting at. No, didn't I meet you at another? I was opening for John Capeless one night.
That's it. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I was trying to think it wasn't that play. No, but that was a beautiful little theatre.
Very nice. Clear's Theatre in Kilkenny. Go there if you have a chance. He's a guy, John Clear, who runs it. He's really into music. So he does this thing called the Rhythm and Roots Festival. He organised it. Kilkenny's very good like that. There's these like little people on the ground that are like, they love a bit of culture, but something different.
Great. It's great for it.
Yeah, and the Rhythm and Roots be good because it'll have some very kind of like weird folk band from Mississippi that only play with like dustbins, and then you have like a big Tom tribute band. So it's got something for everything. And that is a nice theatre, Clears, and they get kind of unusual things in. That was like a cool place to go when I was a teenager. That's actually where the guy
was it? That picked you up.
yeah, he literally picked me up. And like, I'm not fat, but I'm tall. It's not easy to pick me up like.
Sure, them hurling young fellas to be all strong as horses. Sure.
Yeah, sure. He just He hand passed me over to his mate.
Truth be told, he probably was maybe in his 30s. He just kept staying back so he could win the
That's
Hartley
what
Cup.
Yeah, to get the Hartley Cup. Yeah.
The other theatre was no, the one I did the one man show in was down the end of that main street. It was near
Theatre.
Yes.
I can't say it. The Watergate Theatre. I'm getting to the Kilkenny accent again. The Watergate Theatre, darling. Yes, that is the main theatre in Kilkenny. Yeah, and that's a good place. Yeah.
They're a great, like, it was a Sunday night show, and we were kind of going, oh, what way will this go? But it sold very well, and I was like, if I tried that in Clonmel, forget about it. Forget about it.
Yeah, Clonmel and Kilkenny is a bit of a rivalry, like, because they're about the same size.
Yeah, but Clonmel, theatre-wise, ain't happening.
No. But actually, shopping and stuff is better in Clonmel. Because you go to Kilkenny, it's all these shops with like 3 weird hats, in the shop, very expensive. But Clonmel, it's like boom, 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 sales. Get your suits, get your shoes, get your school stuff. And I remember my mother was really disgusted. She was like, "Do you know that Clonmel has a Marks and Spencer's? We should have a Marks and Spencer's. Kilkenny is a Marks and Spencer's town."
Oh, it absolutely is. I mean, it actually looks like a British town. Like, it actually looks British with all the stone buildings.
Yeah, it's Norman town. Yeah, it is. And they have the little cobble streets, and that kind of thing. Yeah, so it does. And it has the castle and everything. So it does. It is. It's a Norman town. And you have a lot of, like, Normans. Like, Tipperary people are more Irish, really, to be honest.
Yeah.
But my mom's from Nina. So she's, I'm half. A mixed race.
Oh, jeez, me too. My mother's from Kilkenny.
No way. Oh my God.
Yeah.
And the amount of crap banter that people would have about it, she'd be just like, what's it like now on All Ireland Hurling Final Day? And she's just like, oh my God, I'm just in my room watching an old movie. Like, I don't care. But she's not really. My mother's a bit posh. She went to boarding school for 2 years. And that's where I met, the class. And she was the French teacher, so she just cut above. And then my dad had a real farming background, so she got an awful shock. She moved. She always lived in Nina, which is a biggish town.
Yeah.
And then she went to Kilkenny. She was out 4 days a week, and then she marries my dad. And she's like, "Well, I seem to be going out every weekend. We just used to go to the mart. The mart, the mart."
I'm guessing like your mother was one of those only people, one of those very few people in the 80s who drank wine.
Yes, she was. Yeah. And she'd have a blue nun wine and stuff. Yeah, horrible shite.
Oh yeah, horrendous, but still sophisticated for the 80s in Ireland.
Oh yeah. She used to drink coffee. And I used to think, wow, that's so cool.
Jeez, really?
Yeah, and she used to pronounce everything like she'd embarrass. She'd be like, everyone wore a beret that was in like the Order of Malta or something. She's like, "It's a beret, girls. It's called a beret." Yeah, I'm like, "Oh, stop, man. You're so embarrassing." My parents were so embarrassing. Yeah, they were great parents. They were the best, and I speak French and Irish. Like, so
stop.
But it's a hard slog to trying to fit in with the cool girls,
Yeah, I just
take scares just to kind of keep myself with street cred.
Still though, now you're the ultimate hipster. Like, you've got 3 languages now. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, you've every right.
I think I'm a hipster, and everyone says you're not.
No, you are. All you need now is the cigarette on the holder up in the air. Like, people aren't good enough for it. Or maybe a pipe. Yeah, you could get the vape in the shape of a pipe.
Yeah, I am a bit of a hipster. Like, I've got this is a kind of hipster jacket, although it belongs to my partner's son.
I like it though. I like it. No, it definitely. So was because I know you were an actor as well. So did you go? Where did the acting come from then, or stand up? I should say. What was the transition to get to stand up from studying Irish and being setting your hair on fire and saying gear?
Yeah. I suppose I always liked acting and singing, and I studied music as well in college. But I always wanted. I was used to volunteer for the Cat Laughs Festival as a child.
Yeah,
and not a child, like 14. 15.
I imagine that's just a 4-year-old going. I'll flyer for you guys. I'll flyer.
Like, now you have to be 18 to volunteer for it, but then they didn't care. So me and my 2 sisters used to go in, and they'd be like, lay out all the chairs, and can you get our Lohan and an apple? And Andrew Maxwell has gone missing, so can one of you just go to all the pubs and find him? Like, you literally do the weirdest jobs.
Yeah.
So we thought it was cool. We saw people like Dylan Moran, Bill Bailey, Louis C.K., who bombed in Kilkenny, Mark Maron. Like, you saw all of these amazing comedians for free, and you kind of got to be close to them. Like, you got to go into the VIP area afterwards.
Right.
And like, you know, I went to like Phil Kay's bedroom with my two sisters, and I was like, that's
Okay.
I'm like, no, it's not. When I look back at it, it's like three teenagers in like a middle-aged man's bedroom. Now, you didn't do anything, but we stayed out all night, and my mother was like, where were you? So we did a lot of kind of crazy shit of that, and I always loved comedy as a result. And I had it in the back of my head because, you know, when you first see a comedian, you think like Tommy Tiernan, you think that's magic.
A wizard. It's a wizard.
It up as he's going along. He is just the dream maker. Yeah. And then you volunteer in his venue the second night, and you're like, okay, he said that last night, and he said it the night before. I see what he's doing. This isn't impossible. It's just really difficult.
Yes.
But I had it in my head, and I didn't do it for years and years, and I'd always be kind of thinking, oh, I will, and I'd write a little bit, and I'd think of something funny and that. And eventually I became friends with Eleanor Tiernan.
Okay, yeah.
And she said to me, oh, you should do comedy, you're really funny. And I was like, stop for telling her I'm not. Tell me how to do it. Tell me how to do it, bitch. So she set me off on my path. She sent me to the Halfpenny to do an open mic.
Yeah.
And I had 6 weeks to get ready for this. I was so nervous. And I got so dolled up, like you wouldn't believe. Like I had like the fucking magic knickers on. I had like had a bra. There's more material in my bra than there was in my jokes. Like I had the hair, all that stuff. Like I looked great. Well, kind of mad great, but I didn't have anything really prepared. But I went up there, and it was almost like a blackout. Like I didn't remember anything that I said. I didn't really remember it. Time went like that. But I did get a few laughs, and that was enough. Like I was not good, and I thought that everybody on the night was a beginner. And sure, who was the next up after me was Rory Hanlon, who was 10 years at this stage, and he ripped it, and I was like, oh my god, in love. But but I kept going, and I kept chipping away, and I didn't hit the ground running at all. I hit the ground crawling on one arm, bleeding. You know, it wasn't good. But I liked it, and I got the bug, and I kept doing it, and I kept doing it. About a year later, I was doing an open spot in the Inter, and Aiden rings me when I'm in the taxi on the way down. He's like, hey man, can you do 20? Somebody's dropped out. And I was like, yes, Mr. Bishop, I can.
Of course.
Absolutely
yes.
Not. I did a really good 11, and I got off on a laugh. And he gave me 150, no, it was about 100 quid at the time when they were actually paying much better. And he was like, I'm so proud of you. And I started crying. I was so happy.
Boy.
After that, I kind of cheated my way into the roster then, and I started emceeing there, you know.
Yeah.
He forgot that I wasn't actually good. Or I was okay, you know. But he forgot that I wasn't one of his established acts. And so I kind of got in on the roster there. And then once you're in the international, you know, people see you, you get more gigs. And sure, you know yourself, it spreads. And I started getting a bit better. And then people always say that's a disadvantage for women to be a comedian, but I found I came in at the right time. They were wanting more women. There was, at the time in Ireland, probably only 1 in 10 comedians were women.
Which always stood out to me that if you and Joanne McNally were honest, or you have just been honest, and she was honest with me as well, because I put it, not that I put it to her, but she brought it up on the podcast as well. She went, oh, it was sweet as a nut, business-wise. If you think about it business-wise, being a bloke in this business is idiotic, because you have nothing new to offer unless, you know, unless you've got a third eye, but you're just another bloke.
I think mullet is good. You should go for the gay. You should go for bisexual in a polyamorous relationship. Now, I know that you're happy with this, but it's going to help your career.
Well, Demi Lovato just came out as, I don't know, middle of the road, so I might do that. Non-binary, so fuck it, I'll be them day, whatever.
That's what I thought when I saw the mullet. I was like, oh, something's happened here.
Midlife crisis, I see.
Do the maths. In a professional gig, you'd have 4 acts, right, including the MC usually. And they want one of those to be a woman. Yeah. So 10% of the people are getting 25% of the gigs. I found I definitely had an advantage. I was getting picked over lads who were as good, if not slightly better than me, for gigs. And especially MCing, because if there's a woman MC, it gives an impression that there's loads of women in the gig, but actually it's just a woman that keeps getting up and introducing. Yeah. So, I would say being a woman has really helped. If I was black, and if I had like a lisp, and maybe if I had one leg and I was lesbian, that's why.
Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness! Like that is nobody ever hits the 5. Does anybody hit the 5 stars of wokeness?
I think there's an autistic girl who wears a hijab who's Muslim and maybe bisexual as well.
Oh, class! Has she
Like,
both her
you're
legs?
not really autistic. You seem absolutely fine to me now. Not that autism isn't, you're fine, but like you're wearing that a bit too hard on your sleeve. You've already got a few tricks, you know. And how can you be wearing a hijab and also bisexual? Does Allah like that? I don't think Allah would be into that at all. That's haram. So yeah, she's pretty cute. She gets a lot of BBC4 stuff, you know.
Oh,
Like
stop.
she's ticking every box, every subsidy. But I'm not bitter. But like I've still got, and Irish is a little bit of a niche as well in England. It's an advantage.
Do you lean into it?
I used to lead into it a lot when I went first, and to the point of doing really cheesy jokes. Like because I was doing a lot of kind of working men's clubs and places like that, like kind of, you know, gigs for 80 quid that weren't great in Luton and things. And I used to have a joke, and I wasn't proud of it, but I used to get a good reaction where I would say, you know, my dad, he's a typical Irish man. He's into football, horse racing, very fond of the old cock.
For the audio listeners,
Funny,
Aideen was imitating a pint, but it's perfect. Big cock.
Yeah. And I used to have a few things like that. And then, but you see, the danger of that is, I used to have stuff about Irish accents and the northern accent versus the southern accent. But then if you have another comedian who's Irish, they might do something very similar.
They absolutely will do something like that.
I have to be, if I'm going to talk about Irish, I have to talk about it from a different perspective that hasn't been done before.
Yes.
You know, if I'm going to talk about drinking, I have to talk about it from a different perspective. Like, people always say, a lot of the cliche is that it's really hard to give up drink in Ireland, and I don't drink. And actually, I find in Ireland, it's fine because everybody has an uncle who's an alcoholic. So if you say, I don't drink, they're like, oh yeah, okay, good. I don't want you to piss the carpet. Like, they're okay with it. And actually, 20% of people in Ireland don't drink. It's the highest number of teetotalers in Europe. And if you go to France and you're like, oh, je ne bois pas, I don't drink. Mais quoi? Mais quoi? But why? Why? Can you not take their local drink? They're just a little tiny bit. And they will quiz you about it, and they'll think that to them is mental. They don't have a culture of alcoholism where shit could go massively wrong. So it isn't. So I haven't done material about that yet, but that's something I was thinking about. You know, not to do the usual thing like about, oh, it's so difficult to give up drink in Ireland, but maybe twist it a bit. And
that's brilliant. Yeah.
That's my truth, you know? So, like, it's hard. I'd love to be testing these things out on stage at the moment, but it's not well, I've got my first gig back on the 28th.
Oh, have you?
Yeah, I'm in London. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, brilliant. I'm busting with jealousy as a, you know.
Sorry, I know I said that. I was like,
you said that with such smugness and unashamed smugness too, that could only come from a posh kid. You know what I mean? Like,
exactly, yeah, the privileged Gaeilgeoir child that will run up and tell the teacher all her news. Yeah,
exactly. You're just and you sold it to me something horrendous there, and it was, oh Jesus, she's taking no backward step on this whatsoever. It's it's looking, the first gigs that have been booked in are in Limerick for the UC. It's looks like September at the earliest, which is realistically all it could, you know. I do a fair bit of the online hosting and stuff like that. Like,
what do you do? What do you host?
All corporates. I will not do comedy. I can't do the comedy club thing. I just want to reach inside my chest and just rip out all my organs and throw them at the camera.
I've done a few corporates as well, and at first it was hard, but like the last one I did was with a firm of solicitors, and I just went on their website and got the photos that they had of their board. I just took the piss out of that in a gentle way, but like, if you take the piss out of the bosses, you have them.
Yeah.
But it's not exactly setting the arc forward 100 years, but it, you know, it pays the bills.
And it scratches the itch too, doesn't it?
It does. Yeah, you get a buzz off it when you have a good one. Yeah.
And so when did the decision then to move to England? Because you were teaching in England for a while, weren't you?
I was. I decided I'd go over and I try and make a go of it. And I did a few gigs and I got a bit better. And like in England, it's different. Like in Ireland, people want their comedians to be like them. They want them just to have the chat, the crack, and everybody's almost an MC.
Yes.
But in England, they go up and they have their very set thing with their written jokes and the pullback reveals, and they've thought about it so much and they're very intense about it. And so I learned a lot of craft there by watching other comedians. But I fecked around and I was drinking a lot, and I ended up like, whoa, in bad situations, you know. And
you can't just skim on over that there now. We all want to know.
All right, so let me see. So I was I was teaching in this school, and it was a real rough school, and it was my second year there, and I was the second longest running teacher. That'll tell you all the teachers. I was drinking all the time and giggling. I was like, it'll be fine. I was also the music teacher. They put me doing something I couldn't do any harm to the kids. So I was teaching music and French. So I was grand, but I was just so tired. I'd gig at night, I'd come back at 12, I'd get up, I'd have to get up at 6 to get to the school for 7 because the inspectors were always coming. We had to do so many notes and it was a rigmarole. And then I'd go out and I'd drink and we'd hungover, get up, and it was a vicious cycle. All parents were miserable. And they were, the parents didn't like the teachers. They would talk to the assistants, but the teachers thought, oh, don't trust her, she's a teacher. And there was a lot of there was a bad vibe in the school. But there was one parent. She was a very, very glamorous woman.
Oh.
She was Lithuanian, yes. She had beautiful blonde hair. She had the lips done. She was a bit fake looking, but she was very glamorous, very slim. She'd always had perfect, immaculate clothes, and she was always in such good humor. And she was always, I pay you to teach my son guitar. I'm like, your son is 4. I literally can't teach him guitar yet. Give him a chance. And she said, no, I pay. And the parents never paid for anything. And when there was a cake sale or anything, everybody would have their 50p. She'd come in and she'd open her bag up, her Gaeilgeoir and Kilkennian bag, and she'd have wads of cash, and she'd give you so much money. I was like, what? This woman is unbelievable. Like, what's going on? And then somebody leaned over to me, the other teacher who was there, a bit longer than me, and said, she's a prostitute.
Oh, okay. And
I was like, why am I not doing that? That would be a much better deal than this woman. So I didn't go that far, but what I did was me and a mate went on one of those seeking arrangements, this sugar daddy website.
Oh, please tell me more about this, because I've always wanted to talk to somebody who even dipped their toe in this carry on.
Yeah. Because I used to talk about it, but I'm starting to talk about it now because I want to. Talk about it. There will be a bit. Yeah. I used to try and do bits about it when I was still drinking, but people were just genuinely concerned for me because they were because I was saying it, when you're a sugar daddy, it doesn't give you all your allowance. Everybody knows that. Am I right? It wasn't relatable. But so I went to the sugar daddy website, and this guy approached me, and I decided, okay, I'll go for it. And I kind of went for it because I wasn't a total glamour puss, and I wasn't that young. They want them really young. I kind of put myself as kind of a more hippie type, and I thought I'll be that market. I won't be the most glamorous, but I'll be able to talk to them about And so we started talking, and finally he's like, meet me in the Savoy or somewhere. And I was so nervous. I got so dolled up again, like I did for the gig, and I drank a naggin of whiskey on the bus into the state.
Nice.
Right? Nice. I arrived in, and I'm just like, hi, and chatting away. It was quite nice, but sure, everybody's nice after you have a naggin of whiskey.
Yeah.
And I drank 2 glasses of wine. At this stage, I'm really pissed. And he was like, "You're such a lightweight," and I oh god, yeah, I hardly drink at all, total lie.
Nagging already down, man.
Yeah. So I told him I was 27, but I was 32, and he lied about his age as well. I think he said he was 57, but he was 60. Yeah, he was 30 years older than me, and he kind of looked like a Jewish gay burn. That's the only way I can describe him. Right? So not ugly, but not exactly
Gabriel Bernstein. That's who.
Yeah. Very good. And so I went back to his house, and we did the deed anyway. And sure, I'd be up to that kind of shite anyway. And the next morning, then he was in his little socks, and his personal trainer was coming over, and his house was really posh. And I was like, oh my god, where the fuck am I? What did I do? This has been mad. And he paid for a taxi for me to go home. And I was just like, oh my God, I'm never doing this again. And then he brings me up, and he was like, I really had a good time. I know that you're going to Edinburgh, to do the festival. Is there anything I can do? And I was like, oh no, you're grand. And he's like, what's your bank number? So I was like, oh, I'll give him my bank number. And he put £1,000 into my account.
Stop. Right?
Yeah, no, he did. And I was just like, oh my God, I just got drunk and screwed a stranger. I've just been paid for what basically I've been doing as a volunteer for years, right?
You've gone from amateur to pro. It's incredible.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, it's like when you win the boxers win the Olympics, like Wayne McCullough. And I just thought, I wasn't in a good place. Let's say, as they say, I wasn't in a good place at the time. I just broken up with somebody, and I was. You
were drinking naggins of fucking vodka on the bus, and the fact that you even signed up to this would suggest that this was so out of left field.
See, there's the thing about me was I'll do anything if I think there'd be a story out of it. So my friend did it, but she just met somebody and nothing happened. I went the full hog. So then I said I'd meet up with them again, but I had to in order to meet up with them, I had to keep drinking every time. and I kept drinking. And then I was over at his house one night and I fell downstairs.
Old fun times McQueen. Yeah.
Yeah, fun time. It's all, the men love me as a free spirit for the first 3 weeks, and then they're like, stop turning up at my work drunk. You're scaring my children. Like, please. So he had, now in the meantime, he'd gotten, I have to practice this story because I'm not getting the timeline right, but he rented a beautiful apartment for me, right? Single apartment in Belsize Park, very posh place, very near his house. So I could be his like full-time mistress. Now he wasn't married or anything.
So how many dates had you had at this stage before he went, I've just gotten you an apartment?
The first date, he said, marry me, right?
How wealthy was this guy? Jesus Christ.
He had 30 million, supposedly. But you don't know with these rich people because they have it in shares and all these rape bonds and vulture funds. So what he did, he had an awful lot of money. Like, it was just like, we had never ate in the house. There was no food in the house. We ate out. There might have been like a few bagels, and then we ate out every day. And then once he decided we needed to eat in more, so he hired a cook, and she would come to do the meals for the week. And she was also Mo Salah's cook, the soccer player. She worked for.
Stop.
Yeah. And then it was just annoying having her around, so he fired her. And like. They're probably like, he lived with his daughter, and his daughter was American. He'd been married 4 times, right? So he had like loads of kids, and it was just like, she'd be like, Dad, I'm hungry, and he was like, here's some money, and he'd give 50 quid, and I'd be like, no amount of food costs 50 quid. What are you doing?
You could get the week's shopping for £50.
Yeah, exactly. And it was just so different. Like, there's a lot of stories like that, and just the things I learned. And I learned that money can't buy you happiness. They were his daughter, his other mistress, they were all, me probably as well, we were all total screw-ups.
And miserable. Absolutely fucking miserable.
You could distract, money can distract you from your unhappiness.
Right,
so
yeah.
By the fact that he put his business partner in jail by going out and having loads of meals and, and going on holidays and trips to Cuba and stuff. You can rent happiness, but you can't buy contentment.
Yeah.
So so when I fell off the stairs, then he was like, you have to move in with me. And at this stage I was like, yeah, I'm drinking a bit too much, maybe I do need somebody to kind of mind me.
What's happening next? A fucking stair lift. Jesus.
Yeah. So in fairness to him, he wanted me to get off the drink, and I was trying to get off it and get on. Now he wouldn't give me so the other thing was, then I was teaching, and he was like, I don't like you getting up early in the morning. I'll just give you the money that you would get from teaching, and you can just stay here. And I was like, okay, yeah. And I thought, right, if I'm not working, I'll really be able to concentrate on giving up a drink.
Of course, yeah. It's like lockdown. We're going to be amazing people.
I would get up in the morning, I would go down to his wine cellar, I would get like a bottle of wine that probably cost 100 quid.
I love that. I love that. I go the fact that you slipped that into the end of a sentence like that was no big deal. Like you went in.
I know this is terrible. Your audience are going to be like, oh my God, we're really worried about Aideen. It's fine. I'm fine now. This happened.
Oh no, lads. I waited till she'd gotten herself together. I couldn't.
He was watching. He thinks she needs a year sobriety, and then we'll get her. Is she going to AA? Good. We'll get her. Yeah. So
I'd be monitoring you closely up until now. Yes, this is perfect time to get you. You haven't fully gotten over it, so you're good with the stories.
Yeah. So he was. And I would go into the bathroom, and I'd have a bath every morning. So when water is, this is a good tip for alcoholics, so people don't know you're opening a bottle or a can. You run the water, flush the toilet at the same time, open the bottle really fast so people don't hear. And I would just be drinking the wine in the bath and hide the bottles behind the cistern and everything. But eventually I was just like, it got too much, and I was like, I need to go home. And my sister came over and got me, and she was like, this is really weird. You're living in a mansion, but it's also like your life is shit. I don't really understand, because they didn't. I lived with them for 8 months, and my parents never knew. I never told them. You can do that thing. I'm up in London. Everything is great.
Oh, sure, yeah. Which, for all intents and purposes, you, from only other than actually somebody actually knew the ins and outs of the situation. For all intents and purposes, you were just in a relationship or in a house share in a really nice house.
Yeah,
it wasn't like you were running around setting your head on fire every day. Like,
yeah, people weren't Zoom. Yeah, exactly. It wasn't like the good old fire hair days. People weren't Zoom calling you. You got on with it, and I would go home, and he had an Uber account for me, so I never had to get public transport. I just got
lovely.
Uber, right? I got really spoiled. Like, I really got into it.
I'm really seeing the upside of this now. I won't lie to you. It's,
in Ireland, I would get the Uber. I was like, oh yeah, let's just get Ubers. And my friends are like, really? You need to get a bus agent? No, it's free for me. They're like, how? Yeah, don't worry about it. And I'd be spending, I'd give like to my sister, instead of like buying her a present because I was drunk, I just went, here's 200 quid, you know, like, you know, put no thought into things. And I used to think then that, oh, I have all this free time, so I go to a coffee shop and I drink a glass of wine. I think I'm going to write loads of amazing jokes. She didn't write anything. I just really pissed.
Of course not. You were a lush.
Tenner. Yeah, I was a total lush. Like, tip everyone a tenner. But the yummy mummy with no kids. And then when I wasn't going and pretending to write, I would be like in the beauticians and getting my hair done and getting waxed. It's very difficult being a trophy wife. I used to have the personal trainer come in for me once a day. Then I would go to get something done, the beauticians, or, you know, he advised me to get Botox and everything. It's all about self-improvement. Then we'd have to get the hair done.
Or self-modification. I don't know if it's improvement. You know.
Yeah. The modification, yeah. It's like, I look like a haunted Tupperware, which is a phrase I took from Frankie Boyle. But so it was like, yeah, it was full. And then I remember I used to have to go on dinners with him, and like I was his girlfriend, and people would never, they would always, how did you meet? And we'd just be like, we met at a club. Like, yeah, right. You know. And once I went to the Parliament with him in England, because he was doing some kind of a weird deal and he needed help from a disgraced Tory MP who had been in the Thatcher government, who was a member of the board of his company. And they were trying to get some deal with the government for some kind of energy thing. And like, that was so interesting because we went into the Parliament, and like, they just like, it's like, I think that somebody who's a politician is really successful, you know? But this guy, his name was Timio, I'll say it. And he was just like, you know, he brought us on a tour of the Parliament, and I sat in the seat in the House of Lords where the Queen was, and I stuck it up on my Facebook. That's illegal. And Tim would say, like, you know, this is the bar, they call it the Kremlin, because that's where the Labour Party people drink. This is the bar where the Conservatives drink. And then there was these really normal looking girls in the corner, like just a bit older than me, with like their Primark clothes. And Howard was like, who are they? And he just went, oh, SNP, Scottish National Party. And they're like, ugh. And then he got really, really drunk, and he kept telling me the story, and it was funny the first time. He said, you know, I was over in Ireland once. I was in your Parliament. The Dáil, I believe they call it.
Jesus Christ.
Oh. Yeah, the Dáil. There's a father. You don't know what fathers are. And then he said, you know, we were in an interparliamentary golf trip. And by Jove, we beat your guys at golf. But by Jove, you beat us at the drinking. You can see all his nose there. Because, you know, some people, they don't care. Like, they don't care what they look like. He was one of those. And then he got even drunker, and he was just like, look around you. Look at all these people. This is the cathedral of broken dreams, the Parliament. All these people have failed at what they wanted to do. And he was nearly crying. And I was like, what is he talking about? All these people are earning like £70,000 a year. These people aren't failures. But if you're somebody who went very high class and you went to a private school, and, you know, to be a public servant, to be even like somebody like David Cameron, they would almost look down on, because the person you're in school beside you is like a hedge fund manager earning $5 million a year.
Right. So, yeah.
I learned that rich people are never really happy. They're always comparing themselves to other rich people. I was so glad I went to the present with Kenny, because it's just like, wow, you didn't have a baby in school. Oh, legend, you know. So successful. But so I'd like to write. I write a lot about it, but I haven't structured it. You know, it's like, because there's a borderline between comedy and people being like, oh my God, is she okay? What the fuck did she do? It's not really relatable either.
No, I don't think that. I don't think
that.
Who
here is on a date with their sugar daddy? Rattle your jewelry, lads. You know, it's not relatable for the club scene. It might be something like a one-woman play.
Oh, it is. It is. As I'm hearing it there, that's a one-woman play. If ever I heard it, like, there's almost nothing in that you can use, I would think, in club sets. Like, it's too, like, it's too there's a story that, you know, there's so much there, like, and it's such a big impact story. It's like, by accident, having the crack, you ended up like a sugar baby, and then you're tied up in the situation, tied into it with alcohol, really, and the ease of life, because you know there's the lack of struggle is nearly the dangerous thing, because you're like, because
I
you know,
doing a gig in a village, like it was like some backward shire, let's call it, and I got the Uber to the gig, £100. I was getting £100 for the gig, right? This is the madness of it. I went to the wrong, like, Wiltshire. I went to a totally wrong county, totally wrong town. So then I had to get another Uber for 150 quid to the gig, you know, and arriving all drunky, like, hi guys, sorry I was late. I had to get an Uber from, like, Suffolk, you know. So it was ridiculous. I thought I was a professional comedian, and I was. That's all I was doing. But I was, like, losing so much money on even just the taxi to the gig, you know. But yeah, sorry, I interrupted you there. What you're saying is very true. It's like, yeah, you're trapped in this kind of gilded cage. But I was I'd sober up for a bit and like, I'm going to leave. But I had to save up money. So I put all my gig money in a box of Cluedo in his daughter's room, hide it. You know, I was saving up my cash, because he was cute. He wouldn't give me cash, but he'd buy me everything.
Right.
You know, anything I wanted, he would get. Like, if I said I wanted tit on my forehead, he'd be like, that's fine. How much does it cost? We'll get it for you.
What was the exit strategy then when Sis showed up and she's like, fucking McMansion, what's the crack here? And listen, we're heading home. Like, did you leave him a note? Did you say look?
Oh, what happened was I met this guy at a gig and that I actually liked, and I was like, oh, because I kind of used to convince myself that I loved him and stuff. But I met this guy at a gig, and it was like, oh my god, this is it. Like, this is what's normal kind of liking. And I'm nothing really happened with the guy, but I kind of went, okay, I have to end it. And I kind of got drunk again, and I just walked out with like a backpack, and it was like, you know, just my backpack and my laptop that she bought. But you know, it's
no use to him. Sure, you couldn't leave it to. Yeah.
You know, they had like so many laptops, and I just and I had to go back with my sister to get my stuff, and she was just like, this is so weird, Aideen, I can't believe this. And he didn't take it very well, but
I'd well imagine. Yeah, because I used to do a bit about just the premise of it, because I had no concept of it, and it was the first time it came on the scene, you know, sugar daddies and stuff like that. And it was like, you know, for all intents and purposes, like if you go, you know, from the outset or whatever, you know, it could be construed as hooring a small bit, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
But I
don't deny that it was. I was taking advantage of him. He was taking advantage of me. Like, when I went to treatment center then afterwards, they were like, you know, Aideen, they kind of tried to shock you with your past. You know, you were basically a prostitute. And I was like, I know I was. I'm terrible. But actually, I was like, that is not the bad thing about this, you know?
No. I was addicted. Yeah. Taking away everything. Your liver taking as a bathroom was really probably the only, everything else was just kind of interpretive of how good or bad it is. Like, you know, that kind of way. Like, really just physically your body was taking a bad battering from the alcohol.
Yeah, my body was taking a bad battering. My parents were very worried about me, you know? So that wasn't good. And I had a few slips after that since, but I'm okay now, you know? So it is, it's all kind of experience. And especially if you can use it or kind of express it or talk about it, like it is. And it's a lot, like there's a lot of girls, I've met a lot, talking about it, I meet a lot of girls who kind of tried it or dabbled in it.
Right.
I met one girl who was with a richer older man, and I said, how did you know that you wanted to finish it? And she said, well, you know, I was giving him a blowjob and he came and he said, oh golly. That is amazing.
Okay, people, that is the soundbite for the show. Good God, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Golly.
Yeah, there's a lot of this. There's different levels of, like, they advertise this sugar daddy thing is like it's going to be a businessman and he just wants to have a company of a young woman. They don't mention sex or anything, and like he'll just maybe give you a business advice and you can learn from him, and he could be a kind of a mentor while you're in university. But I don't think that happens very much. You know, it is pretty much transactional. And the difference between a prostitute and a sugar baby, as they call them, which is kind of gross.
Which is really gross, yeah.
A prostitute you'll have no real relationship with her, and she'll use condoms and there won't be kissing. Whereas a lot of men think it's safe to have a sugar baby because she's only going to have sex with him maybe, and she won't use contraception, and it looks like, oh, this is my little girlfriend, but nobody thinks that. Like,
Well, I suppose it's a more formulated version of a lot of fucking marriages. Let's be honest. Whether because we've all seen that couple where she's sitting there on her phone and they're in their 50s or whatever, or he's in his fucking 70s, she's in her 50s, and they hate each other and they've nothing in common. And you're going, oh, why? Oh, right, it's the 300 series Mercedes outside. I get it. But the bit I used to do was that I didn't understand it, and maybe I was an idiot or whatever, but I couldn't see it translating the other way, because even when I was in college and I was starving eating cocoa noodles, at no point could I see myself ringing up, sugar nanas and going, hey, do you want a shot at the title, nana?
They have it. They do have, because I've done research. They have agencies where they have men. Like, say, I think it's a good idea. Like, you're a single woman, you're really stressed, and you want to have a really handsome date for your friend's wedding.
Yes.
You hire a guy that will come with you. You do a bit of prep on backstory, and he comes along, and everyone's like, "Oh, he's so handsome! What a great guy!" But I don't think there's as much demand for it now. I had a friend from Barbados. He does comedy, and Nico Yearwood, and he says that in Barbados, because there's a lot of poverty, there's a lot of beach boys, and they're kind of guys with dreads, smoke weed all day, they stay on the beach. And he said particularly German business women will have a relationship with these guys. They'll buy them a motorbike or something, and it's a way of life over there. But I don't think really fancy it that much. Maybe I would hire, like, I remember when I was before I was going out with my guy I'm going out with now, and we were doing Edinburgh, and he was like completely ignoring me, not inviting me to his show, just busy. And I used to see these good-looking flyers getting a tenner an hour for flyering, like a handsome Spanish man. I was like, if I gave him 20 quid and we just walked up and down his venue for like an hour until he saw me and Carla, I would pay for that service. I was really like thinking this would be great. I was like almost in my mental mind considering it. But then I just dropped the law of, yourself. That was it.
Brilliant. I love your like, if anybody, I'll put a link to your Twitter on this. Your fucking tweeting is next. Like your post.
My Twitter game would be great. Twitter doesn't like me, but Instagram.
Sorry, Instagram.
That's where you need to find me. Yeah, my Twitter is just retweeting, like, my friends' stuff.
But even your funny statuses, like you put up one the other day. I don't know, was it Twitter?
I love Instagram now. I've really gotten into it lately. I was doing some stuff with Dave McSavage. He's really good on Instagram. And
I'm taking full credit for that, by the way. We drove back in the snow from Limerick one night, and he wouldn't shut up fucking talking. And it was an intense drive because the snow was coming at us like that fucking the start of Star Wars. And he was like, because he's no concept of driving at all. Like, so he's like, "Isn't it mesmerizing, Tom?" I said, "Dave, you don't shut the fuck up." And he started videoing. I said, "What are you going to do with a video of the snow?" He goes, "I don't know." I said, "You're not actually going to post it on?" He says, "On Instagram or something." He went, "No, well, why would I?" I said, "You fucking joke me. You're not on Instagram. How the fuck are you not on Instagram? You did the whole Savage Eye. You can get your hands on all the footage of Savage Eye. If nothing else, just put that up."
That's so true. Fair play to you. Yeah, because it's changed his life. He's got so much purpose and meaning now. Like, seriously.
And McSavage needs that, like.
Yeah, he does, definitely. Yeah. And I went to his house, and the amount of effort he puts. I made one video about sitting like a hipster or something.
Oh yeah.
50 takes of it, and he turns into like Leonard Bernstein with the Philharmonic Orchestra. He's like, "Aideen, you are a hipster. You hate humanity and you hate chairs. This chair has been generations of craftsmanship and human knowledge, and you hate humanity, so you hate this chair. Feel that when you hate the chair." He's holding the chair, and I was like, "Dave, this would be even funnier if you recorded the outtakes of the video."
Oh, absolutely.
I'm the type of person where I'm like, "Yeah, let's go. Let's kind of cheerleader. Let's go on. Let's do it. Another 50 takes. Yeah." And he was just like, look at me through your cunty little fringe. Look at me through your cunty little fringe." It's so funny.
He's so method, like, he is heavy when
Yeah, he was so perfectionist. And what he is very good at is, I would come along with like 12 ideas of like why hipsters are annoying. I can say that because I am one. And he would be like, "No, not funny. He would find one thing and he will expand that thing out, and you're like, oh, actually, that is really good what you did. You know, he's really good at expanding a tiny little detail he sees about somebody into a big thing.
And that's exactly how, like, when they were writing The Savage Eye, where his most popular character, Mick the Bull, came about, because Dermot McMurrough just walked into the writers' meeting and they hadn't found their hook, for the want of a better phrase, but they hadn't found their flagship character yet. And he came in and he was just talking about gigging at that same club that you did your open mic at, and the bar owner was just hilarious. And they were doing an impression of him just being this mad, Tipperary bar owner. These two fucking queers came into the bar. Would you believe it? And that's where he... And McMurrough did the whole thing, you know, that they... And he just jumped into a character that wasn't extrapolated, but McSavage just... Whoa. We need to give him hooks for hands. Hooks for fucking hands in the back of the hook and started riding the other. And he just got up on the table and just started fucking the air. They were like, and they all agreed that's who we will hang the show around, because that character is just too good.
Works so well. Yeah, he doesn't do the bull because he really doesn't like doing it anymore, because he's got all these fans that are like love the bull Mick, like they want to be him. They feel like they don't get that it's ironic. They just think, right, fucking hooks for hands, Claire's, you know.
Yeah,
so all the young lads sending in videos of their like illegal parties in Tipperary. Come down and have pints with us. You're mad. And then he tries to talk about philosophical things and, you know, the nature of life and his bleeding heart and relationships. And they're just like, hooks for hands, man. Back to the hooks.
But that's the, you know, he was going on about that with me too. He was kind of going, you know, I'm it's so much more. As a Dave, unless you appeal to about 80% of the audience, you won't get a TV show. You know that as well as I do. Yeah. You could have made that whole show really. As Blind Boys came out with the same shit when he started getting fans who really like Horse Outside and drugs, and then got angry that he had drug taking people who really followed him. What the fuck did you think was going to happen? You know what I mean? You know, you could have gone into politics like your parents, you know, but...
God, it's mad, isn't it? It's like the success, and then certain people want the same thing, and now he's doing the Patreon, so people will be like, I don't like this anymore, I'm going to unsubscribe from your Patreon. You know, they did one thing wrong, and he has to be really nice to the patrons.
Of course, yeah.
The patrons will say something that if I said it, he'd kick me out of his house, but he's like, thank you very much for the comment, you know.
Yeah, money talks, isn't it? Yeah.
But yeah, he's making a great go. But I enjoy his Instagram a lot, you know.
Yeah,
so
but
hopefully video with him.
But anyway, fuck McSavage. This is more about fucking McQueen here now. This is the proper thing. We need because your writing is on fucking point. Your character, it's so fucking like you're nearly giving away too much in a way. Like sometimes I'm going.
You know what? I think you're right there. I was only thinking that today because I went to do a gig once and a comedian did a bit and he saw me and then I was like, that's like my bit. And I did a post with that a month ago and I could see a look of recognition. Like he was like, oh shit, I didn't think she'd be coming to the gig.
Yeah, I draw it down straight away. I would draw it down with him straight away, like because I do like conflict as well, like but because I've had to in the past where I've literally heard it and gone. Like I went from one club to another club in Dublin when somebody texted me, this fucker's doing your... So I just walked over and do it again. And but you did one... You did a bit... You did a bit the other day. You wrote a piece the other day and it was like, take that down because that's an amazing bit for on stage. You know, we were talking about... So you were writing in your notepad and some guy, he admired your handwriting. You're like, you know... Like,
oh yeah, that did happen. That's
a
real story. Yeah, it did. I was on the tube, and sometimes I'm like, well, hashtag why not me too? Where are all these men that are supposed to be looking at me all the time? You know, just they're like, and so I was on the tube, and I was having my little low cut top on, and I mean, there's not much there to see really. The only A's I got in my leaving cert were in my bra. But, I was working it and I had the old push up on, you know, and I had just another button open from the school shirt where it wasn't meant to be. I think I was going to do a gig and I was going to meet somebody I liked.
It's funny how you can get away with that, but if I open one too many buttons, it's like,
exactly. Female privilege, yeah. And So he was I was probably writing out a set list or something, and blah blah blah, I'm going to do this joke and this joke or shot. I don't know what I was writing, and he was staring down at me. I was like, oh, for fuck's sake, what's he looking at? You Irish, beautiful handwriting. My teacher was Irish. She had handwriting like you as well. You teacher. I go, fuck. Not only did he not objectify me, like, what's the one thing worse than being objectified? Not being objectified. I think Oscar Wilde might have said that. He mightn't, but he could have said something like that. And I was just like, oh, thanks so much. It's like, maybe you should have been an actress, or like, at least a children's TV presenter. I get that sometimes. Teacher, like I'm a teacher.
And you're a paddy teacher on top of that too, like
Paddy teacher. Yeah. It's like the time once I was with this guy, and he was like, "Would you ever dress up as a teacher?" I'm like, I am a fucking teacher. We don't wear the sexy pencil skirts. We don't wear those like garters and stuff like that. I am a teacher. It's the sports day. Look, I'm in a tracksuit, okay? Like your physics teacher.
Dada, I'm dressed as a teacher right now. I'm exactly what I'm fucking wearing. Yeah.
I wore this in school. It's not good enough for you. Yeah. But he wanted like the glasses on, and he wanted like the hay, that kind of,
yeah. The teacher that doesn't exist.
Yeah. No teacher. The point is really unrealistic. No teacher would spend that much time after school with a child. That is not our students, really. Like no teacher is calling those kids into class for an hour afterwards. No matter what she's doing. Yeah. So it's funny. Yeah. I'm not teaching at the moment. Well, I teach adults online for learning Irish, and I teach them grinds as well. Yeah, but I don't. I don't teach. I'm not in the classroom at the moment. Yeah.
Well, that's a great idea, though, is leaning into the fact that, I mean, you're so good. Like when you've learned Irish you have it in a different way than 99% of the population would have it, in that you had it. Listen, literally, you're all for like, dear great, Alenov. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It was great. It's such a gift. So I can do that anywhere. I can teach online. It's great. And I was going to teach in England, but they couldn't figure out my name, more Aideen McQueen, and then my guarded vetting was more in Yermada, and they were like, it's a different person. I'm like, no, it's not.
Oh, Jesus.
So I just went, heck this. I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying not going into the classroom and stuff. So taking a bit of a break from it, and I work as a care assistant now 1 day a week as well.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah, I know, because people, once you say you work as a care assistant, people are like, oh my God, thank you so much.
Thank you for your service.
Yeah, thank you for your service.
I feel like saluting you right now.
Yeah.
I'll be out. Yeah. Sorry, can everybody clap for Aideen right now?
Yeah, they're all, well done. Yeah, and it's like, it's not that difficult. It's private work, and I work.
I walk somebody's dog. That's what
Yeah. They got the vax, so I'm doing different stuff now, and I'm enjoying it. Yeah, it's because the teaching, it's like there is pressure, and I did it for 10 years, so it's nice to have a bit of a break from the classroom.
Teaching can send people fucking squirrely. There's something, I think all teachers need to take a sabbatical, because you see the ones that are the lifers, and they've gone, the head has gone on them. You can't be hanging around with kids all fucking day. Like, you can't for many years in a row. The head has gone on all of them. Like,
you say the weird, I over explain things to everybody, and I spell every word. Like, what's his name? Kevin. K-E-V-I. It's like, I can spell Kevin, okay? And
AKA Queeveen.
Yeah, it's Queeveen, Australia. Queeve meaning shade, from the Irish word queeve meaning gentle. So Queeveen means gentle one, and I just go into over explaining stuff. Like, Irish Americans love it, but everybody, plastic paddy's a lot. Oh, I didn't, like, it's amazing the difference in Irish Americans. Like, hey, I'm Irish American, and they're so delighted. And then, like, English Irish people are like, oh, I'm just a plastic paddy. I'm just a plastic paddy. Like, they're so ashamed.
Yeah.
They're not that proud of it. And then we're like, or if they're chatting you up, they'll be very proud of you. One guy said to me once, "Where are you Irish? Where are you from?" I'm like, "Oh, I just say Dublin, because I don't even want to tell them about Kilkenny, like, or anything. Like, oh, I'm just from Dublin." I said, "Oh, my nan's Irish." And I'm like, "Oh, where's she from?" County Furlong, I think. And for a second I was like, it sounds like it should be a county, but it's not. Yep. County Furlong.
It's actually a measurement of distance in the equine world. Yeah, so
that's it. Is, 8 furlongs in a mile, an old Irish mile. But it's just, yeah, they're so the English don't have a clue, or their dad could be from Limerick, and they'd be like they know it's maybe 200 miles from Dublin, like they don't. Whereas Americans are like, well, my great grandfather came from a small fishing village of Cove, and they emigrated on to Ellis Island. They've done all the research, like they're so proud.
I think that's just a very British thing anyway, is that please don't look at me. It's sorry. I'm sorry for saying this. Yeah, I'm sorry. Whereas Americans would But you're dead right to do the Dublin thing, because I try being from a place called Tipperary. The one song they can all fucking is it a long way? It is with my fucking boot up your hole. Like there's no point. Just go, yeah.
And I was shocked to find out, because my mother used to sing that song for us, like she'd them on and stuff. But Tipperary was actually a brothel in London.
I heard that.
Where I used to work, actually, I'm thinking of applying with my work experience. But that was a shock to my system. Yeah, there's what was a pub called the Tipperary, presumably an Irish fellow owned it over there, and then it became a whorehouse, and the soldiers would be dying to go back there afterwards. Because I could never figure out what it was like. Hello, Piccadilly, goodbye, welcome, Leicester Square. I'm like, those places aren't in Tip. Where's Clonmel?
Definitely not. Definitely not.
Why aren't they mentioning Carrick? This is.
Nobody wants to go to Carrick. Nobody wants to go to Carrick.
My parents got married in Carrick.
Did they?
Oh, they did, yeah, because it was halfway between Kilkenny and Tipperary, neutral ground.
Fair. That's fair. Aideen, I've taken up enough of your time. Don't worry, I'll put links to your Instagram in it. But we get a hell of a lot of London listeners. So your next gig, where is it and what date exactly? This will be out Friday. This is Friday morning as people hear this.
Our Shalton on the 28th, so that's not London. But my next London gig that I'm sure of is 3rd of June in Backyard Comedy Club.
Brilliant. Backyard. Yeah, love the place. It's made out of, the entire building is made out of pallets.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It could be in Tipperary. Maybe that's what you need to do.
It could be.
A pallet-based comedy club in Tip.
Aideen, thanks a million for that.
Thank you so much for having me. Slán go Pauline.
And my thanks again to Aideen. What an absolute banging episode. I told you it was going to be a good one. Thank you all very, very much again for listening, of course. Follow Aideen on whatever platform you want. I have her link down in the show notes, so do get following her. It's going to be funny regardless. What an amazing story. Just as a fright when the drink catches a hold, you hunt it. Now, that was, of course, the episode. Thank you all very, very much. You know what to do. Share, subscribe, tell everybody about it. If you want to leave a comment on whatever platform you're able to leave a comment on, that'd be great, because I will, of course, be picking another winner of the top comment when we hit the 200 mark. And just like Gaz Wilson and I'm not sure who else won. Other people have won. Sharon won, and I know Dave has won as well. They've all gotten bits and stuff for just best comments. And if you can't, just take a screen grab and write me a class comment and tag me in it on Instagram. Probably best place. I'll repost it and you will go in the bag. Yeah, that's the crack. If you want to support the show and see the video of today's show, or just be sound and support the show and fling some doll hairs at it, have a look. It's in the show notes. You know the story with Patreon at this stage. It takes about 30 seconds to get in. If you'd buy a man a cup of tea, this is your chance to buy a virtual cup of tea. Now, that is all I have to say about that. Go on away, enjoy the rest of the weekend, lads, and I'll talk to you again on Tuesday. Good night, God bless. Thanks.